this sign for event or happen, there's kind of two. There's boom, like something exciting, boom, something happened, some event, versus something that simply happened. So life events or life events. So we're going to go through some vocab on that. And then important discussions, or important documents, and then the regular stuff, conversation things. So we've already seen in class, we've talked about have, and how in English we use have for a number of different situations. And the concept of the sign should match the sign itself. So like with car, a car breaks down, it doesn't break. People break up, as opposed to break. So the same thing happens with have, where I have to go. You wouldn't go have to go. It's have to. Need. It's that velociraptor claw. And it will go into a little bit. We'll go into a little bit of the difference between a double tap and a single tap, because it's not simply a noun-verb pair, but it should make sense when we get to it. But remember, there's also other uses of have. So we've got the needs-based, we've got the possession-based, but we also have the opposite of if you have none, if you don't possess any. So he has none, or has none, right? Thumb up or thumb down. Doesn't really matter. I have a tendency to do thumbs up for a lot of my signs. Okay, so have none. Both of them are signs for have. There's also, if you've already done something, finish, wrote, book, versus have not yet, haven't yet, haven't. Well, I haven't read that. I haven't seen that movie. Haven't. So it's also a sign for late, not here yet, right? And then we get back to must, need, should, have to, that kind of thing. Okay. So here's an explanation of them, the common mistakes with possession versus have to. They go into a little bit more description here. No Google, I'm not talking to you. So you can read that. It's in the slideshow. We've talked about it. This is a good little grid to show. Have to, you must. Have to. You must. Have to. The mouth movement. Have to. Bus. For must, it tends to be. It says affo, but I think it's actually f2. But in lip reading, T and F are F. They're so close. Should. You should. It's a conditional, right? You should do that. You might not, but you should do that. Versus must. You have to do that, right? You should. And it's kind of that small thing of you better do it. Versus you need to. Need. There's no movement, right? So that's why it's an E. Need. Oftentimes I find I inhale. Right. Okay. It's a kind of eek. So transitions. Since we're using a visual medium to communicate, all of our transitions are going to be visual. Now, we can use and like it's really boring, and it's very Englishy. So we've shown that sort of contrastive structure where we talk about brothers, sisters. Boom, boom. I did one thing, I did another. We can use this same process or even more stops along the way to show transitions in time. We can also do it sort of forward if we do this and then this and then this and then this. We can also, if we're showing like an itinerary, like if you've got, you're going on a cruise and here are the different cities that you're going to go to. That finished that, go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. And you've seen examples of this in other videos for True+Way ASL. So I want to kind of go over how these transitions tend to work. We'll use this, so here to the next thing. Boom, 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 boom. So you can go next, 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 in order, in a line in front of you, right? So as time goes by, and you will sometimes see people wiggle their fingers. If the fingers wiggle, it means it's a longer time than just this. Facial expression, it's a ways to that next one. It's a long time versus, it was really quick versus reasonable time versus, okay. A family who has kids right after the other, blah, 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 versus one who, there's 10 years in between each kid. So combined with that, we can also use finish, right? So finish. So this activity happened, finish, we go to the next one. Or this happened, finish, we go on to the next one. Right? So this finish, and then I went and did the other thing. You don't have to use finish all the time, but play with it to get used to it, because we remember that was done, and we move on to this other thing. That was done, and then we move to fish. And you can do one-handed, but I'll recommend two to start with. So start. So if you're about to start a process where there are going to be a number of different steps, or first it was this, second it was this, third it was this. So you can also use a list to count. So this could also be to start or to start, like you put the key in the ignition. We can use years or months or days to signify a passage of time. So January, February we did this, March we did this, April we did this. So you can do that. We could do 1935, they entered the war. So 1985, graduated high school. 1985, I entered college. 1989. So 1985, 85, 89. Okay. We could also reference by age. So at age 5, this happened. So as you move to each different section, each different segment, you can add age 1, age 2, age 3, whatever. Or you could do boom, age 5, boom, age 6, boom. So we're doing across or in front. And it helps if you're going to do something like that, where that vertical is to make sure you're setting up in a different location each of the things you're talking about. It happens naturally when you do this. It's a little more difficult when you're doing this, but using your signing space is always good. For age, we've talked about it in class, but this is the sign for old or for age. And you're going to go right from this into the number. So 0, 5, or age 5, age 10, age 11, age 99. 1 through 9, 1 year to 9 years, you can actually incorporate the hand shape of the number. 1, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. 10 and up, you have to separate them. Age 10, age 55, age 65. Right? So for right now, just do age 1, age 2, age 3. And eventually, because it's a single hand shape, you'll be able to incorporate that, use that hand shape all the way through. So another way you can organize things is where you were living, where you moved to. So you can move So pick up your stuff and move over to here. You can move over there. You can move over here. You can move, right? So military, your family military, right? So you could travel a lot. I see most military folks using this because they never really feel like they've put down roots, and that's the next signs, put down roots. So you could do boom, 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 like small time roots. So here's the tree, right? And here's the roots going into the ground just a little bit. Boop, boop, boop. From since, right? I've been there 50 years, right? So, boom, right? So a little bit, little, boop, 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 boop. The face has got that little lemony versus really deep. Those roots go way deep, right? So that's the put down roots. Move, if you're moving, like move around in town, like locally, move. Um, So I lived in Lakewood for 30 years near Cleveland, and I would move around a lot. Every year or two, I'd move to a different apartment until I had one for 10 years. So move. And it's a small movement. Boom, 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 right? I'm in the same town. If I was moving, that would be more confusing. Let me just pause for one moment. Okay, so the last side is going to make a ton of sense. We've talked about um, putting down roots. You can uproot. So you can uproot. So you literally pull the roots up out of the dirt. Out of the dirt. Um, Again, in class, we've gone over how to sign years, and you want to look because there's four numbers. We're going to do pairs. So 1974 or 1974, 1991. So you can use that for those specifics. If we're talking about okay. Same thing with years. So remember the years 2000 to 2000. You'll see 2000 sometimes as well. It tends to be more of a hearing thing. 2000 to oh vu. Uh, uh, 2001 to drop down and pop back up for the one. 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 7, 2008, 2009, right? And then 2010. So once we get past 909, we get rid of the two zeros in the middle, and it's just 2010, 2010, 2011. 2020. Life major events. Hold on. X. Excuse for the English not being right. Major life events. And you can sign happen. These are little ones. Right? But if you boom, like you're hitting a timpani, boom, right? Boom, big events. What? Or they could be boom, wedding or funeral or graduation, right? Big events. So ideally, with these slides, we're telling a story of a person's life. And a clear way of doing it is if you go 1935. Oh, why is this? Hold on, let me move this thing out of the way and do this. Boosh. There we go. That's better. Those numbers seem off, don't they? Because generally kindergarten starts at 6, not 5, right? And if you started in 1940, you wouldn't graduate. Maybe there's a video somewhere hidden in TWA ASL that makes sense of this. But I want you to think of what are the milestones in your life. What are the things when you're talking about what happened? When were you born? When did you start school? When did you graduate high school? When did you graduate college, or when will you graduate college? Things like that. Getting married, dating. When did you start dating? When did you, and those kind of things. Meet someone, get a pet. What year did you get the pet? Did they pass away? Those kind of things. So think about those milestones and how would you organize them? Same way that you would organize them in telling a hearing person in English is a good way of doing it in ASL. And it can be confusing if you keep changing that. So if you're going to say, if you're going to start using dates, using years, do it that way. Don't switch over to age. It can get confusing. And then 4 years later, this happened, and I was 18, and someone's got to do the math in their head. Well, wait a minute, does that make you 18 or 22, right? So try to be consistent so as not to be confusing. I'm not sure what happened here. He shook hands with someone in 1954. First time I ever shook hands with someone with 1954 after I'd already graduated college as a teenager. Right. I don't know. Maybe he got gamma radiation. They're just not showing the Hulk pictures. He was pursued by a woman in 1955. For the first time ever, he sat under a tree and thought. Uh, okay. I have no idea what's going on. I'm guessing it's the story of they got married in 1959 and then they had their first child in 1961, who's not so happy to have this daddy, probably because he knows he hasn't done much with his life in all those years. But again, make up your own story if you want with these slides, or literally just sit down and write. It makes more sense to do it for your own life. What are the milestones and things that have happened? When did you first encounter what is your major right now? When did you get that idea of, I want to do that? You can also project out into the future of, I'm going to graduate in uh, so 2050, I want to set up my own business. All right. So you can project out, what will I do? What will I do? What have I done? Or in the past? Okay. So all these pieces that we've already looked at in class and in conversation. And then he became a grandfather and married again. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe 2000 he's supposed to retire. Maybe that's what that is. Just that mean he passed away in 2008, or maybe she's holding his ashes and is creating a nursery based on. No, that's him. I don't know. I don't know this story. They don't. There's no video. So if we find a video, let me know. Important documents, papers, right? Important papers. Marriage license or wedding license. I've seen mostly marriage. Pause this for one moment. Okay, so land deed. We saw this when we talked about the campus. Land. It's literally the dirt. And we'll usually do it out in double circles so that we know we're talking about the area. I tend to like to sign dirt area because I think it's clearer. And when I see people sign that, it's much clearer. So dirt area, deed. I've also seen have for ownership. Deed or deed. So incorporating this concept of have, I've also seen in there. Death certificate. Death. So it's palm up, palm down, and then you reverse it, roll them both over. Boom. Certificate. And again, certificate. Don't close it up. Certificate. High school diploma. High school diploma. I will caution against the D's. Diploma. HS. Diploma. HS. Cylinder. College degree. Driver's license. Any license would be like this. Do not close this up. That is a female sexual symbol. It's not used all that often in polite conversation, but I would almost say go towards the whatever. You can just remember you're looking at the document right there. Permanent resident card. It's very simple. I wish they had put it in. It's the green card. So again, it's not like permanent resident card. It's just green card. And we will draw a rectangle as opposed to a license card. Passport. If you ever use your passport, they always like stamp, right? Passport. Social security card. Social security, same as social studies. And again, we draw that card. So now with the conversation starters, what I will recommend doing is, how would you sign this? If you look at the conversation starters and say, okay, how would I say, when did you first drive a car? And then sign it. Then watch the conversation starter videos. Those sentences will make so much more sense signing. And again, with the conversation starters, I can't really add the vocab because the point is you're supposed to sort of pull them out. But past, first drive car, or when. So you, or let's see, OSV, car, you, first drive, when. There are different ways you can organize that sentence, but that's a good OSV to think about. Planning, plan, we did this for plan, right? So plan, future, plan ahead, retirement. Like, if we've got the license and the picture's right there, you can refer to it. Notice how I'm focused, I'm going back and forth between the license, you, and the photographer taking the picture, right? Suppose you could change it. Change. Suppose future 10 years or future 25 years. What do you want? Or see yourself. See yourself. You'll sometimes see this too. You know, in movies and TV, you'll see the dream open up, right? Same thing. Where do you envision yourself 25 years future? So lots of different things. And interesting discussion we'll probably get into is that deaf people statistically are safer drivers. Why? I think the why should be before the do you agree or disagree. If you doubt the statistics, look them up. That is what I recommend. It's actually, there's some interesting history and documentation about the fight for deaf people getting their driver's licenses. So I hardly recommend it. And again, the group discussions are nice, but we don't have enough signs. We don't have enough vocab. How do we talk about, like, why is a 16-year-old or a 15 or a 12-year-old not responsible enough to have a driver's license? We don't have that kind of vocab. So I find it very odd. We'd have to fingerspell quite a bit. And same discussions. Oh, we don't need the separate one. Boosh. Delete. Okay. So activity, discussion in the classroom, and what'd you learn? So that's 3.4. All right. So 3.3 and 3.4, pretty short chapters.